Hi guys, I promised you a little background on scrambled eggs at midnight, so I wanted to give that to you. Um, the Obviously I wrote this with a co-author, which was something I'd never done before, and most writers don't. Writing is pretty famously a solitary endeavor, so you don't spend a lot of time doing writing with other people, but it's been known to happen. And yeah, my co-author is a woman named Heather Hepler. She's gone on since to publish some books under her own name with solo, as I've also published solo books. And we were friends. We are friends. We met at a writing conference in Maine, and we uh, we started talking and found out we were interested in a lot of the same kinds of fiction and the same kinds of reading and so on. And we decided, this was all pretty much by email, a few phone calls. We decided to play this kind of writer's game by long distance. Of course, I was living here in Frostburg, and she was and is living in Texas. The There's a game that poets play called Exquisite Corpse. Now that sounds really morbid, and I have no idea where the name came from. But when poets play Exquisite Corpse, here's how it works. You write two lines of a poem. Doesn't matter what it is. You write two lines, two first lines of a poem, and then you fold the paper down so that you can only see the second line, right? And then you pass it to your friend. And based off of what he or she can see in that second line, they write two lines. And then they fold the paper down so that you can only see their second line, right? So that the first line of whoever's writing is always hidden from whoever's next. And you can do this with a group. In other words, they could pass it on to a third person, or more often, poets will do it back and forth. So, I write two lines, fold the paper down. My friend writes two lines, folds the paper down, hands it back to me. I see that one line and write my two lines, fold the paper down until you feel like you're done. And then you read the poem and see what you've come up with. It's just sort of a game designed to sort of stretch your imagination a little bit. So, anyway, we had the idea to sort of do a fiction Exquisite Corpse. And so we decided that Heather would write a first chapter of a novel. And we just decided this was a young adult novel. It was something we both wanted to try. I had never written young adult fiction before, and that's what she's primarily interested in. So she wrote a first chapter, and I had no idea what was in it. And she sent it to me, and then I wrote a second chapter without talking to her about it and sent it back to her. All right, this is all by email. She read that, wrote a third chapter, and so on. We just ping ponged back and forth. All right. It was about, probably 5 or 6 chapters in that we started to say to each other, this is actually pretty good. I mean, this feels like better than just a game that we're playing. This feels like this could actually be a book. So we were like, all right, it's a book. Let's finish it and see how it turns out. Right. So we actually finished that book in 8 weeks. All right. Now, I don't know how much you guys know about the writing process, but 8 weeks to finish a novel is insane, right? I mean, I'll tell writing friends that, and some of them literally do not believe me when I say that. Just to give you some context, my first novel that I wrote and published took me 4 years to write. All right, so 8 weeks is just insanity. But I think it was because we were kind of approaching it as a game and just sort of let's have fun that we didn't put a lot of, worry into it, a lot of anxiety. Is this good or is this terrible or whatever? We just wrote it, right? I had an agent at the time, still do, and I said to him, I think take a look at this. And he said, I love it. I'll see what I can do. And he sold it to Penguin Publishers. Dutton is a division of Penguin in about 2 weeks. Which again is crazy. And in fact, they gave us a 2-book deal. They wanted that book and another book. We went on to write 3 actually. So that's how it happened. We had one main rule when we were writing, and that's that you'll see as you start to read the book, it's told from alternating points of view, right? Her character is named Cal, short for Calliope. My character is named Elliot. But of course, I have to put Cal into my chapters that I write, and she had to put Elliot into her chapters that she writes, that she wrote, right? So our one main rule was we have full veto power over our own characters. So in other words, she might have written a scene with Elliot in it. She wrote a lot of scenes with Elliot in it. And after I read it, I could say, no, I don't think he would say that, right? It doesn't sound like him. We need to change that. He wouldn't say that. Or I might have written a scene with Cal in it, and Heather might have read that and said, she wouldn't do that. That's not like her. She needs to do something different. So that was the only rule we had, that we had full power over our own characters, our own creations. And if the other person said, we need to change it, then we need to change it. I think that happened maybe twice, maybe 3 times as we wrote the book. It didn't happen very much, right? So that's a bit of the story there. This first book was written for kind of almost middle readers, a little bit younger. The second book is set in Disney World and is sort of for older kids. It's got a few sort of adult themes in it, the Disney book. And then the third book is a little more darker. The first 2 books are comedy novels, comic novels. So after 3, we said, well, we've had a good run. This has been fun, but, probably want to get back to writing solo. That's the real joy of writing. Don't want to, be this sort of team forever. So, a trilogy of books, 3 books felt like a good number, and we stopped there. So that's a little bit of background on that, and we'll get started on it real soon. All right, guys, take care.